Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. We got a lot to go over here today, a lot of new information, so bear with me because we are going to be talking about the new hero Griffin, his feats, his movesets, and we're going to be talking about the Warden buffs and nerfs, Peacekeeper, Nobushi, and Shugoki. There are a lot of changes here, buffs and nerfs for every single hero, so let me know your thoughts down below. But with that being said, let's just get started and get down and dirty. Alright, so taking a look at the new hero Griffin, he is going to be a chain, heavy, and light kind of user. He does have a neutral palm strike or a bash just like Lawbringer, and the first thing of course everyone's going to notice is that he does have reused animations from Lawbringer, from JJ, and from Highlander as well. And a lot of people are going to think that it's lazy design, but with the pandemic and their funding, I think you can make an argument for having reused assets. But for me personally, as long as the hero functions well and has different mix-ups compared to other heroes and is very fun to play, I don't really see too much of a big deal with it. Let me know your thoughts down below. So let's just get started. Griffin, first look, he looks pretty amazing and really fun to play. He does have 3 chain, lights, and heavies, which is awesome. I think more heroes should have these type of combos so they don't feel as monotonous to play, because most of the DLC heroes that came out, they only really have 2 chain hits, Jianhu's light into unblockable, Warmonger's light into heavy. And with Griffin, you can pretty much chain all your attacks like Raider and Lawbringer, and I think he's going to be a very versatile hero. One important thing to note is that his heavies are very wide ranged, so you can do a lot of externals, and he does have a neutral bash as well. The animation does look like Lawbringer's shove, and it's funny because Lawbringer should just have that as a neutral bash opener as well. It's pretty fast, and it's unpunishable as well. You can essentially throw out a heavy or light attack afterwards, just like Tiandi, which makes it sort of unpunishable. It has to be on read based if you want to punish him. He has a lot of reused animations like Highlander's forward top heavy, Jangjun's dodge attack, which has quite a bit of iframes, but it only comes one direction, unlike Jangjun's, which comes from 2 directions, so it makes him a little bit weaker in that regard. However, he does have a kick mix-up. Unfortunately, it only has 1 timing, so you will be able to dodge out of it. But the good thing that comes with this is that he's able to throw undodgeable light if you decide to preemptively dodge out of the kick mix-up, which does land a heavy attack, which is very powerful. I think the biggest thing is that he has an impale just like Lawbringer, except his animation, he flips them and he actually does 10 damage instead of 1 damage. It's a little bit weaker than impale, I would say, when it comes to 1v1 potential, but it's way more fun doing because I mean, look at it, it's freaking hilarious. And you also have frame advantage, which is also an important thing, so you kind of have to respect what he's going to do next. So if he lights you, you better be ready to parry that. It seems that with this balance update for Griffin, they're going back to the fundamentals of having more chains in the attack and throwing out attacks instead of having an oppressive hero like Black Prior or Warden, where shoulder bash or like bash spam is his main mix-up. I think having undodgeable lights and one-time variable kicks is more fun for the game and less oppressive. He does have a lot of chain starters, which is awesome. Guard break into heavy attack is going to be a second hit, so every time he does a second hit chain, light or heavy, it will enable him to go into his kick mix-up, which is really nice. And as you can see, he does have the 2-tap light attacks, which is really smooth animation. I like that. And for me, animation is very important with those sweet light attacks and wide-ranging heavies that look very powerful and satisfying to throw out, like Raider's heavies. It's just going to be a very fun hero to play. I didn't really like Warmonger, but I like this hero right now from what they've showcased. And honestly, I'm just really excited to play this hero. He's got tons of mix-ups, and he really doesn't seem that overly oppressive. It just seems like a well-balanced hero that's going to be fun to play and fun to fight against. And I think that's the most important thing. Of course, he does have 3 light chains, which, of course, consoles always struggling against light spam. But on PC, I think he'll be a very fun hero to play and fight against, which is probably the most important thing for Honor. Fun needs to be the biggest factor when it comes to balancing. And I think this hero is going to be and should be the baseline for making a fun and well-balanced hero when it comes to offense and defensive play. And let's just quickly go over Griffin's feats. His first feat is essentially just going to lower your opponent's attack, which is going to be very powerful. As for a tier 1 feat, it'll be helpful to save your teammates and just lower your opponent's attack. Tier 2 is going to be an AoE healing feat for your teammates. It's about 20 damage, it seems. Very helpful, especially for a tier 2, and that's going to be very strong in team fights. And with his tier 3, he uses a crossbow that deals damage to your opponents, but also heals teammates nearby. And as you can see, he's essentially just a paladin, and I think that's freaking awesome. We don't really have a hero that does a mix of both, and having this hero added to the roster is really cool. What do you guys think about that? Let me know your thoughts down below. And then his last feat, another bomb, but of course this one is going to be also a healing feat that does damage. It does 47 damage, which isn't too bad, and I'm assuming it has damage fall off as well, but it's going to heal your teammates and it's going to do damage to your enemies. So it'll be a good tier 4. I'm not sure if it's going to be overly oppressive just yet, but what do you guys think of the tier so far? He looks like a fun hero to play in 1v1s and 4s. Alright, so let's move on to the hero reworks and tweaks, nerfs, and buffs. Let's talk about Warden first. This is going to be... Wardens are going to coom. I'll tell you what, they're going to coom because he essentially got a huge buff when it comes to offense. Now they removed his backwards shoulder bash, which made him a very strong candidate for turtling against heroes, and now he won't be able to do that. The biggest thing was that because heroes can't throw side heavy finishers to catch Warden's back dodge in most cases, and so he could just back dodge into shoulder bash safely and to get into his offense, and heroes would have to make a read, but now he's only able to side dash. But fortunately, they gave him a rework, and I feel like he's going to be more of a swordsman. I think that there are going to be way more Warden mains out there instead of BP mains, which is going to be awesome. His side chain heavy finishers are now going to be unblockable, and they're going to have way more range to catch people in 1v1s and 4s. That's going to be a huge buff to him. His shoulder bash now chains into his heavy finishers. It also chains from his zone attack as well, and his running attack, which is a huge buff for chain offense. So essentially he's just going to be another Centurion and Warmonger, and all the hero 50/50s combined together, and this is going to be a huge buff for Warden. I feel like it's going to make him pretty... He's obviously been top tier for a long time, and he's going to be top tier again still when it comes to offense. And now he's not going to be a defensive top tier hero, he's going to be an offensive top tier hero, and this is going to be great for the Warden mains out there. Let me know your thoughts down below. He's got a lot of good buffs coming his way. Unblockables are essentially the best thing because his top unblockable wasn't that good for tracking people, especially when they side dodge, but now his side unblockable heavy is going to be pretty insane. This is just a huge rework for him, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that. Finally, he's going to be a swordsman instead of just a shoulder bash hero, but unfortunately his shoulder bash is chained into his mix-up, so he's still going to be using shoulder bash a lot. And the one important fix that they changed was that his level 3 shoulder bash, you know how you could feint that and be moving halfway across the map, that is no longer available, so that's a nerf in that aspect, but he got buffed in an offensive format, and I think they said it's going to be less frustrating to play against, but now we have to focus on making reads against his 50/50 shoulder bash. So it's a double-edged sword. They took away his defensive utility, but now we have to focus on his offensive 50/50s, which this game is all about now. So these are just the important notes that Warden got. Let me know your thoughts down below if you're happy, if you're frustrated, and if you're excited to see more Wardens out there. So let's talk about Peacekeeper, guys. Peacekeeper, finally, she got a buff, and this is going to enable her to be a lot more offensive. She's going to be a scary hero to fight now. So every time she gets a bleed off, her chain heavies are going to be unblockable. She can dodge out of the bleed attack now, which is going to be helpful for her flow in 4v4s and 1v1s as well. Her zone attack will not be a light parry anymore. It used to be a light parry, but now it's going to be a heavy parry. She can chain into a guard break now, and I think the most important thing is that her zone is finally enhanced, so she can do chip damage and enter mix-up if she goes for an option select or starts off with a zone. Overall, I think this is going to be very strong for her. And just having stronger heavies, which they did buff her heavy damage, is going to be insanely helpful. We'll finally see some more executions from Peacekeeper because I haven't seen it in 87 freaking years. And I believe that's pretty much it for Peacekeeper. These are the biggest details that we need to talk about. Just unblockables and better recoveries and a little bit more damage. That'll make her a little bit more viable and more fun to play in my opinion. So let me know your thoughts down below. So unfortunately, they didn't show any images or videos of Nobushi and Shugoki rework, but let's just talk about Nobushi's rework, and this is essentially going to make her flow a little bit better. So her hidden stance stamina consumption has been reduced, which is insane, so you can utilize hidden stance a lot more. Her chain heavy finishers are now going to be undodgeable, so her kick mix-up becomes a little bit more viable. She can pretty much use her chain heavy after a lot of her light attacks now, so Cobra Strike, Viper's Retreat, those all chain into an undodgeable heavy. Her kick can be used after a zone, so it's like a soft feint zone attack, which is pretty nice. She gets a little bit more viability in that aspect. Unfortunately, her zone is still going to be super slow, so it's going to be easy parry. It'll be good for 4v4s and making some sort of pressure when it comes to externals or 1v1 potential. The only thing that I don't like is that they didn't give her an unblockable chain heavy. I think they should have done the top one to be an unblockable chain heavy. It would have been a lot more cool. give her more viability, but the only real OS pressure she has is her kick into undodgeable. It's still going to be pretty good. It'll be a lot more fun. It'll make her a lot more viable. I mean, her hidden stance into heavy is going to be undodgeable, which is nice, but I feel like having hidden stance into heavy unblockable instead of an undodgeable would make her a lot more viable, but I guess all the knights get on the unblockables, you know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest things about Nobushi, just some more recovery fixes, some soft feints here and there, makes her a lot more viable in the higher levels of play. Let me know your thoughts down below. Nobushi finally gets a buff, which is nice. Let's just be happy with what we have right now. And let's talk about Shugoki. Shugoki, I think he mainly got a huge nerf overall. His lights no longer have hyper armor, and I think that's really important so that he can't be super oppressive. It still enhanced the lights, which is important so he can go into his unblockable heavy mix-up. But unfortunately, they also nerfed Demon's Embrace as well. It doesn't have any more hyper armor, so you can't really trade with opponents when you go for the Demon's Embrace. A lot of people will just light attack you out of it, and so the read must come from you, where whether or not you want to let your unblockable heavy fly is up to you. And just that huge nerf on the Demon's Embrace having no hyper armor, that's pretty huge. The good news is that he will be able to catch dodge rollers because they give him a forward dashing heavy attack, which looks like his running attack, and I think that's pretty important. It helps him in the viability of 4v4 because most people would just dodge roll anyways. But the good thing is that they gave him a side dodge headbutt. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it does stun. And with Shugoki's heavy feint mix-up and unblockable into Demon's Embrace, I'd say it's pretty viable to an extent because it forces your opponent to make a read and it does stun them for some chip damage or whatever kind of mix-up you want to pull out. Overall, Shugoki, this is a huge nerf to him, and it makes him less oppressive, which is a good thing because he's definitely super oppressive on PC and console because he can just trade with light attacks all day. The biggest strength about Shugoki is variable timed heavies. You want to go for a parry, eat that heavy to the face. He's still going to be a strong hero, but this is going to make him lower in the tier list for sure. What do you guys think about this? Is it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? I mean, Shugoki definitely needed a nerf in the hyper armor light department, but removing the hyper armor on his hug is a little bit controversial. Let me know your thoughts down below because this really helped him go for decent trades to get his health back as well. And the testing ground servers will be available on the 10th, so we'll be able to try all those changes out and see if they help the heroes out. And I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a huge net gain for the For Honor player base. I think a lot of people are going to come back to this game when the reworks come out. Nobushi mains are going to be happy, Peacekeeper mains are going to be happy, and Warden mains are going to be really happy. I think the Shugoki mains are going to be a little bit upset. I talked to Tony, he doesn't really like the changes too much. But I think we'll all have to agree that Shugoki did needed that nerf, and giving him a little more viability in brawl catching was a very good thing. I'm glad that the devs gave him that option. But overall, I think all these changes are good for the game, helps improve offense to a degree, and it focuses on making players less frustrated when fighting against super defensive heroes. And I think the most important thing is just fixing recovery times. I don't know if Nobushi got any recovery fixes. I don't think she did. But I know Warden did. His zone has better recoveries now, so most people won't be able to light attack him or guard break him after his zone when it comes to 4v4 gameplay. Nobushi still has her dodges, of course, but I think her light timings need some recovery fixes. Peacekeeper should get some more recovery fixes as well. But overall, I think this is going to be a good patch. You guys are going to have to let me know down below if you guys want to see more buffs for certain heroes or certain nerfs. Shinobi definitely needs to be deleted or get a huge rework. I think a lot of people have been asking for that. Orochi, maybe a little bit of that too. Armusha for sure. Lawbringer needs to get some kind of openers because he's essentially been left out. He's just going to be a super defensive hero. But you guys have to let me know down below what other heroes need buffs like these, because I think these are really nice changes. I think everyone needs viable OS pressure when it comes to like just neutral bashes, like Griffin, which is really helpful for OS pressure and opening people up who don't want to attack you. And just giving more heroes chain attacks. I like 3-hit chain heroes, that's why Griffin's probably going to be one of my mains. It gave me more fashion, which is obviously a no-brainer, but 3-hit chains are very important to me, and I think this is a good step for Honor. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. Appreciate the support. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you guys are new. I'll be posting more For Honor gameplay and updates about the game and my opinions. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!